recently came off like 2 or 3 days of vacation. The first major vacation, the first real vacation I've taken in over a year. And I took this vacation because I was burned the F out. And I needed a reset. I was just every single day ripping my cortisol to shreds, trying to make something happen. Some things worked, some things didn't. And I'm finding that the things that didn't work were because I was overpowered by external influences to a point where I had forgotten what my intuition was telling me. I wasn't listening to that inner voice. I needed some time away from my phone, from social media, from my computer, from the house that I was living in, to just rediscover that small little voice inside. And I came up with some really great insights. I think that a lot of artists forget that voice inside them for many reasons. Again, societal expectations. They don't know what their friends are going to think. They don't know what their parents are going to think. They don't know what like the algorithm or like random people on social media are going to think, because like everybody will give you hate no matter what you do. I heard a joke from a comedian about 10 years ago. It was like, a president could create world peace and then be criticized for killing the defense industry. So like you're always going to get haters. When you factor that in, you really have no choice but to listen to that inner voice. When you actually listen to that inner voice and then your ego or your whatever the critic in you attacks what that inner voice wants, that's what you have to work through. That's a limiting belief. So if you want to make a film and then there's a critic in you that says, but you don't know anybody. Oh, but you don't have the resources. Oh, but you don't have a story. That's a limiting belief. That's an external fear or an external influence overpowering your intuition. And if you listen to that external influence more than you trust and listen to your inner intuition, that's how you become bitter and resentful and fearful. And you don't actually accomplish what you want. You just accomplish what you think other people want you to accomplish, which will never make you happy. It is never the way to be as a creative. And I think more artists need to realize this, because so many artists live in fear. So many artists claim that they're this, claim that they're that, yet they haven't shipped. They haven't delivered. And I've been like that more times than I can count. So what I kind of learned from my time away that I'm going to do today is I'm going to start working on my major creative vision. And the major creative vision is important because it is the true, at least the truest snapshot of what your intuition wants in the moment. And ideally what you want is to create a major creative vision that can transcend the moment and that you can actually devote 10, 20, 30 years to. Because we're not talking about short-term gains. We're not talking about likes on an algorithm. We're not talking about, like quarterly returns or like, oh, I want to make this amount of money next year. We're talking about what would you do if you knew that you were going to succeed, money wasn't an option, and that you're essentially building your legacy here on earth. It's important that all artists understand what that is, because then what you do with that information, then that's your choice. If you want to take the time to develop what your major artistic vision is and then you don't act on it, that's up to you, bro. But at least you knew. It's better to know and not do than to not even know in the first place. Then you'll never know whether you would have done it or not. So that's what we're going to do now. I'm going to move to the whiteboard, and I've got a series of sort of questions and exercises that I'm going to walk through. I'm not trying to teach anybody anything here. I'm just showing you what I'm doing. I've realized that my YouTube is best structured as a kind of a hiding in plain sight, fly on the wall, journal entry of what I'm doing to build my company, to build my vision, which is a transmedia entertainment company. And I think that in 10 to 20 years, these types of videos will be more valuable to people who are fans of mine, who want to learn how I did what I did, rather than just a series of videos about like viral hacks to satisfy like momentary content topic requirements. You know what I mean? So I'm just doing what I'm doing. So I'm going to move to the whiteboard and we're going to run through this entire exercise, and hopefully I'll get more clarity as to like what exactly I'm doing here. Okay, the first thing that we're going to do is do the ikigai. You've probably seen this a bunch. Business gurus talk about how you need to create meaning for yourself, so you figure out what you love, what you're good at, what you can be paid for, and what the world needs. And so I'm going to do a really quick run through for how that applies to me in April of 2025. So I love game theory, even though I haven't formally studied it. Every time I've sort of come across it, I've been fascinated with it. And I keep coming back to strategy in my own life, which makes me think that I really do have an interest in it. I have an interest in storytelling. I went to film school. I love the mechanics of stories. I love what stories can do to the worldview of an individual and a collective. They can change the course of history. And there's nothing more that I would probably rather immerse myself in than stories, because of how much stories have affected me. Another thing that I love is I love a good conspiracy theory. I love it. Conspiracy theories they're kind of like modern day myths, you know? Some of them are true, some of them aren't. You don't know which ones are and which ones aren't, and they sort of kind of run in the background of our collective unconscious. And I just love a good conspiracy theory, because a lot of them have turned out to be true. A lot of them have they've raised questions to events that later turned out to be true, even though the original conspiracy theory wasn't true. You know what I mean? And so I can't get enough of conspiracy theories. I love them. And I love puppetry. I've got an affinity for it. I think the Muppets are just the most joyful thing that I've ever seen. And I want to find a way to integrate it into my life, but I haven't figured that out yet. So my talents. For those who have been following me for a while, they know that I have a skill at guitar. I have a skill at acting. I have skills in live performance. And for those that are just new to this video, I used to work on a cruise ship. I worked on a cruise ship for 10 years. I've worked in professional theater for the last 15 years. And I've been playing guitar for over 20 years. So I know my way around music and live performance. It's what I've always been good at guitar. Like literally for the first time I picked up a guitar, I was good at it. And yeah, I love it. And so another thing, I also feel that I'm good at filmmaking. I haven't finished my first film yet, but the edits that I've made to my film and people who've seen it, they've liked it. And so it's sort of like I'm kind of putting the cart before the horse here. Like I say I'm good at filmmaking, but I haven't finished a film. You know, I've made enough video content narrative to know that I have a talent for it. That's all that I'll say. And again, going back to what I love, I feel that I'm good at strategy when the strategy is meaningful. The skills, these are things that you can be paid for. The first thing that I think that I could be paid to do is sales. The most money I've ever made in a month was from a sales job. So I clearly can be paid for that. I can be paid for live performance because I've worked as a live performer before and I know that that's possible. I could be paid for brand development and strategy. I think I have a mind for that. I've sort of done some pontificating with people who have said like, hey man, you could probably do this. You could probably get paid for it. So I could do that. And then I could be paid for teaching. There's knowledge that I've developed over the years that I could probably productize into a course or sort of a coaching offer. And I could probably give people value from that. So, and the last thing, what the world needs. It's harder to sort of quantify this. And I don't want to get too like heavy in this video, but I do think ultimately the world needs salvation, meaning in this sort of salvation, humility, truth, sort of a collective understanding that we are bigger than ourselves, and the humility and the repentance that comes from knowing that we are not worthy of the blessings that have been bestowed upon us as human beings. That's as like simply as I can put it without getting too like heavy-handed, but you kind of get my point. The world needs salvation, humility, truth, and I also think that the world needs education. There's so much going on in the world that could be solved if people eliminated distractions and committed to educating themselves about what they don't know and what they know, and what they don't know they don't know, and knowing how to discern what they don't know that they don't know. You know what I mean? So the world needs education. When I combine all four of these, you get some sort of amalgamation of transmedia, entertainment, entrepreneur, visionary maverick. I'm not even going to presume what the title of all that would be. The next series of questions that I have to answer are, what are the subjects, topics, and activities that feel like play to me, but look like work to others? And I would say that that is world building, character development, it's a story structure. I love the mechanics of human psychology and how it works. And it's all connected. World building is inherent on the type of characters that inhabit the world, and story structure is inherent with the type of the characters that activate and move the story. And I think it's fascinating. My mother she's like kind of retired, a psychiatric nurse. And so I was raised with kind of the knowledge in the background even of the fact that there's a series of mechanisms behind human behavior. Even though she never like took me to school for it per se, I was aware that human beings had kind of an operating system. And I think something that feels like play to me is guitar, live performance. This is probably something that I have been neglecting the most as I'm trying to build a business and be more entrepreneurial, because it's easy to downplay the ROI of things that are just fun. And guitar playing and live performance is just fun, man. Like, I've gotten paid good money to do it. I'm good at it. But it doesn't fall directly in line perfectly with building a transmedia entertainment company, but there still is immense value both like within the building of it and just outside of like, things that feed my soul. Guitar, learning music theory is helpful to learning storytelling. Learning live performance is helpful to character development. And it also satisfies sort of a tactile, proprioceptive need to sort of keep your intellect sharp. And it's just fun when you play songs that people enjoy. So I like it. And, again, filmmaking, the hardest I've ever worked was when I made my debut feature film. If you looked at me from the outside, I looked tired and miserable and stressed out. But inside, I was having the time of my life. And that's how I know filmmaking is for me. That's how I know that it's what I'm meant to do. Anything you do is going to be hard, but do you get something out of it at the end of it? Because if you're just suffering for nothing, then what's the point? Suffering, you can endure suffering with joy if there is an outcome that's favorable to you. And you can speak in terms of like infinite timelines and just short timelines. And so with filmmaking, it was a grind, it was stressful, but at the end of the day, I got a film out of it. And I am immensely grateful that I was able to do it. And the final thing is, I would say that feels like play to me, but looks like work to everyone else, is Christian theological study. It's no secret I'm a Christian. I don't talk about it too much because it's not always relevant, but I find the study of the Bible, the study of the history of the church and everything around it, the saints of Jesus, church fathers, everything to be fascinating. And I can't get enough of it. Everything I learn just makes me want to learn more. These are the things that attract me. They're like a magnet that attracts me. They repel others, but they attract me. And so I just need to lean into this. Now, what does the next 5 or 10 years look like? 5 or 10 years. So what success looks like is that my company, Game and Story Media, is one of the largest privately owned entertainment companies, in that we provide jobs for some of the world's best storytellers, artists, and business savvy folk. And another thing that I want in the next, I would say probably closer to 10 years, is creating at least 4 transmedia story cycles. And you may be thinking, well, what's a transmedia story cycle? That's coming up. I'm not ready to talk about that yet. And then I would say, like, my family is financially secure and they don't really want for anything. That includes like making sure that our bills are paid, making sure that my children are able to do what makes them happy and pursue their own meaning in life. That means that we are able to live in an area that's safe. That means a whole bunch of things. But like, you got to make enough money to be secure. And I want to do that. I'm not trying to hoard infinite money, but I want to make enough money to where we never have to worry about it. And finally, I want success looks like to me giving money to my church and having them do with it what they will. It's a part of my church to tithe. A lot of churches have tithes of 10%. And so it's actually an incentive to be successful. And I hope I'm not being prideful here, but there's an incentive to be successful because no matter how much money you earn, you're always going to give 10%. And so when I think about, well, if I earn X amount of dollars a year, that's this amount of dollars to go to a church. And if I love my church and trust my church, then more money is good because they'll be able to do what they will with it, with their own discernment. And that benefits everybody in the congregation, and it benefits people who haven't even maybe touched the church yet, but might as a result of the increased capital given to them. That's what success looks like. Business, creative output, family security, church. So let's move on to the next thing. Now, this is where it starts to get interesting for me, because when I started uncovering this next question, that's when the deviation happened between what I'm currently doing and what I probably should be doing in order to make my major creative vision a reality. And so this is what we're getting into it. And it is, what kind of people do you need in order to make your creative vision happen, your major creative vision happen? And the first type of person that I definitely need is someone who is capable of understanding the landscape of a post-Hollywood world. Someone who is kind of like social first, digital first, and can see beyond the entertainment constraints of Hollywood. And I don't know exactly how to articulate it more than that, but I would need that kind of person on my team. I would also need people who understand Hollywood in an intimate way and can bring the best practices, only the best practices from Hollywood, maybe with regards to production, design, cinematography, any sort of the arts, take what works as a first principle and apply it to a sort of a Wild West landscape of this new era of entertainment, which means that I also, and I'm going to write this down because it's so important, I need free thinkers. I need people who are unafraid to pursue ideas, creative methods without fear. I need people who are able to think however we need to get whatever we need done. I don't need people who are chained by bureaucracy or political ideology to be on my team. I also need people who are experts at AI, everything regarding AI, specifically generative AI, using AI to write code, using AI for, like vibe marketing or whatever. But my company needs to be kind of like AI first. That's such a dirty word in the film industry and the entertainment industry, but it's inevitable. It's happening. It's not going anywhere. And if you're building an entertainment company, it has to be AI first. And so I need those types of people. I also need people who are world-class musicians. Because I'm a musician, because I value music so much, I can already tell that music is going to be an integral part of the content and the entertainment and the art that I create, with regards to film scoring, live performances, any kind of thing regarding music. And so I need people in my camp that are rock stars, figuratively and literally. The last thing, I need people who are pioneers. They wake up in the morning and their sole desire is to create something that no one's ever seen before or no one's ever used before. That's what I need, because that's what I want to do. These are the types of people that I need. Now, where do these people live? This is probably pretty obvious, and that's California. Bryn, sorry, babe. Probably going to have to move to California someday. Not sorry. California is incredible. I've heard it said that it is a sort of a magnet for the smartest, most creative people in the world, or at least in the United States. I've lived all over the country. I've visited all over the country. I've traveled all over the world. I've not been able to replicate the feeling that I feel when I'm in California. Specifically, I almost said it. Specifically, San Francisco, the Bay Area. Nothing like it. San Diego, maybe a close second. Los Angeles, I could take it or leave it. The people there are great. Like the industry is cool. But every time I'm in San Francisco or the Bay Area, I'm just enthralled by the energy, by like the commitment and the obsession with like innovation and building something new. Who cares about the political mismanagement? Who cares about the bureaucracy? Who cares about the captured institutions? And we can get all political and blah, 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 blah. It still is true that the people who are building the future are doing it in California. Everyone loves to talk about, oh, what about Atlanta? What about Nashville? What about Las Vegas? It's always going to be in California. California is one of the biggest economies in the United States. It's not going to fail. It's going to look gnarly in a little bit, but it will eventually recover. The adults will get back in charge and it will turn around, and California will be a new gold mine probably in the next 10 to 15 years. And I'm probably going to have to be a part of that. I got to figure it out. The biggest barrier to this is just cost of living. I'm raised in Alabama, so everyone is like, it's so expensive. It costs too much to live there. It's only like 1.56x cost of living as Alabama. So if I made $100K a year in Alabama, I'd have to make $156K a year in California to sort of match the cost of living. It's not that much. It's not like 4, 5, 6x. It's not that crazy. I can probably figure out a way to make 0.56x more in California because of the people, the opportunity. It just will increase my ability to like scale and to profit more. You know what I mean? The next question I have to ask with my major creative vision is, okay, you want to be a sort of a transmedia entrepreneur who lives on the West Coast and who is able to sort of make things that no one's ever seen before and do work that rocks the entertainment industry. And you think, well, is there a model for this? Who's done this before? Let me show you this. I study at the institution of Cameron, Nolan, Spielberg, Lucas, and Jobs. These are my main inspirations for entertainment and business. All of these men have created worlds within themselves, worlds within their products, worlds within their stories. And they've all changed the game with entertainment, business, products. It's the type of, especially, I can only speak for Cameron, Nolan, Spielberg, and Lucas. They're the types of filmmakers that I aspire to be. I'm not trying to make little, esoteric art films. I love big films. I love films with big ideas, big spectacle. There's a reason why you go to the movies, and it's because of these types of filmmakers. And that's the type of film I want to make. And Steve Jobs is Steve Jobs. I don't idolize the guy, but there's no doubt that he was important in the world of business and product and technology. And so the reason I know that I can do what I want to do is because it's been done before by these 5 guys. Bam. But the thing is, you gotta kind of have to go where they were. You kind of have to find the people that they worked with, and you can't try to create something from nothing. You have to go where the people are. You got to go where the action is. The next thing I have to figure out is, what do I have to learn? I've already kind of said it before, but I have to learn everything about AI. I've got to learn everything about generative AI because the film industry is going to be implementing that 100%. I need to learn how generative AI factors into the visual effects industry, how it factors into the short form content industry. I need to learn about coding, using AI as, a research tool, learning maybe the basics of how to even build something like that. Even though I'm not an engineer, I need to know enough about it to be able to communicate with machine learning engineers, with data scientists. The second thing I need to learn is I need to learn film business at an executive level, studying the great film producers and film executives and learning what are the first principles of film business and how can you extract those first principles and apply them to a post-Hollywood era. The next thing I got to learn is, I would say, psychology, persuasion, and sales. Because if you're going to be able to tell a story, you got to be able to master human psychology. If you're going to market something, you got to learn persuasion, you got to learn sales. And so it's all downstream of each other. I need to know how to elicit emotions from people at will to produce a specific outcome. I need to, and sort of downstream from this is storytelling. So applying these methods to learn how to tell better stories. And, lastly, I need to learn as much as I can about Orthodox Christianity because that's kind of the world that I want to live in. It is important to me, and I want to do my own due diligence. It's not always going to be applicable to my business, but I'm just being real with you today. This is what I have to learn. Now, the most important thing of all this that we got to figure out in our major creative vision: sacrifice. What am I willing to give up? Because if I'm not willing to give up stuff to achieve my major creative vision, then there's no point in doing it in the first place. And the first thing that is simple, and I've kind of already done this for the most part, is drugs and alcohol. Drugs and alcohol are liars. They promise enlightenment, they promise fun, but take it from me, kids, these do not serve you. They do not serve your creativity. They do not serve your reputation. My life is always better when there is no drugs or alcohol in it. The second thing that I know that I need to give up is self-importance. And this is a paradox. Because if you want to build something large, something that's bigger than yourself, you have to have something at the opposite end of it that is keeping you humble. It's like putting an artificial weight on a balloon. If you don't weight the end of a helium balloon, it's just going to float up into the atmosphere and it's just going to pop and you're going to lose track of it. But if you weight it down and you control it, you can control how it moves through the air. And I think having a sense of humility, knowing that I ultimately am not worthy of the blessings and the success that I achieve, is as good a check as I can figure out. And that source of humility kind of has to come, that's your own journey to figure out. I can't tell you how to get there. I've got my ways to sort of get in that zone. But that's the challenge of like separating your ambition from your sense of importance. And if you can kill your sense of importance and focus on building great things, building great products, businesses, stories, services, all while knowing that you are unworthy of the success, if the success happens. That's a hack that few people figure out. And I'm not saying that I'm gonna, but it's what I'm gonna try to do, and we'll see. And I think since I'm in entertainment, solemnity. Since I'm in entertainment, another thing that I have to give up is a sense of solemnity. I don't even know if that's how you pronounce it. What this means is that entertainment is play. creativity is play. And if I want to tell the best stories that I can tell, I have to have an open mind and sort of have this connection to my childlike wonder and curiosity and imagination. And if you're too solemn and if you take yourself too seriously, and this is big, this is important stuff, you're not going to be able to open your mind wide enough to experience the beauty of childlike creativity that then is the foundation of great storytelling. Great storytelling and creativity is always birthed from a sense of play. And if you take yourself too seriously and have this morose sense of like checklist of accomplishment, you're not going to be creative. That's like the role of an accountant, and I don't want that. And believe me, I know this. I've come to this conclusion by experience. So yeah. And what's next? Oh yeah, I mean, like wrong, bad people. Like, this is kind of obvious. As you get older, I'm 40. As you get older, you have to start filtering out the people who don't align with your mission, who don't align with who you are. I've lost friends in the past. I've lost acquaintances, either because we drifted apart for various reasons, or I just found myself not really talking to them and realizing, well, I guess I probably just don't talk to that person anymore. And if they really fit with my mission and vision, then we probably would reconnect. Who knows? We may reconnect again in the future. But as of now, you really only need to spend time with people who align with your vision and mission. There's so many things in this world that are a distraction, that don't serve our mission. And if you're like me and like want to do things, there's a lot of stuff you can't do. But that's beautiful because it gives you more time to do the things you do want to do. And you realize, like, if you know what your vision and mission is, it's all just going to go click and it's going to make perfect sense. And you're like, well, I can't do this. And it's going to be easy. Yeah, I mean, that's my major creative vision. So it's something like a transmedia entrepreneur who works with people in and out of the entertainment industry, in and out of the tech industry, to create new stories that people have never seen before. And I build them most likely on the West Coast with free thinkers, individuals who are wanting to sort of develop the future of entertainment. And I, maintain devotion to my family. I make money doing it. I'm able to continue growing in my church and in my religious journey. And I give up the things that don't serve that. So that's pretty clear. What I like about exercises like that is because I'm already starting to think about how I'm going to overcome the limiting beliefs that I experienced even while making this video. I think about things like, well, how am I going to find people in the AI machine learning industry that are going to take me seriously? What do I have to learn? How do I have to conduct myself to step into industries that I currently have very little business being in? And instead of thinking where I might have thought, oh, well, you're just not good enough, I think, no, my only limit is knowledge. What do I have to learn in order to be in that space legitimately? What do I have to learn to give value and to sort of attract talent to my cause and my mission? And then I think about oh, well, if we move to California, we got to move and it's going to be expensive and we got to buy a house and blah, 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 blah. And California is blah, 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 blah. It's again, that's just another limiting belief. It's that's why I think it's healthy for all artists to be honest with themselves and to see what they actually want, separate from societal expectations, separate from family expectations, from obligation, and just what do you want? And I think tomorrow what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down my business mission, because I have a sentence that I wrote out for my business mission. And I'm going to break it down word by word to show you kind of how I might be able to bring some of this to life. So that's the next step. So Thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.